Hey everyone, today we're out exploring the vast wastelands of the Midwest to check out the Xenia, Ohio Toy Fair. We'd never actually been to this convention before, but I sure as hell wasn't expecting the entire thing to take place in pig barns. We are definitely far from the standard convention center this time, as this toy fair has taken over a good chunk of the Greene County Fairgrounds, with about 5 full buildings filled with toys that circles around an area outside complete with food trucks and a down-home DJ that just would not stop pumping out the jams whether you wanted him to or not. So yeah, this is actually the buildings where the animals are usually being kept for fairground activities. But the only animals here today are the rabid toy collectors, all trying to get to literally every table before you do. And this definitely makes for a hectic day of getting footage, so buckle up because we got a lot of ground to cover today. I'm not exaggerating when I say that just about any toy that you can imagine from your childhood is probably here, in multiples even. There were more than a few times where we'd walk across something so rare that we couldn't believe what we were seeing, just to turn the corner and see the same thing at another booth. Literally everything is here. In fact, I nearly fainted when I saw these old 80s NES and WWF cereal boxes unopened, complete with cereal inside for you to buy. That's just how crazy it was here. Obviously, that extended over to my personal favorite toy line, the Ninja Turtles. Finding random figures like this talking turtle was fun since I'd actually forgotten these even existed.
Shredder's right, because with the talking turtle, all you have to do is just pull the sound strip and...
Actually, a lot of the TMNT line is still a mystery to me, since that was the last toy line that I ever collected as a kid. And even then, I only saw the first wave or two of the figures since I just kind of stopped caring around then. So it's wild to come to these conventions and see squirt guns and turtles sitting on dinosaurs. This must have been the point where the designers were just throwing things at the wall, but it's still all really cool to see. And since you could find every obscure 80s toy that you can imagine here, you better believe that there were some Centurions sitting around. This was another favorite of mine as a kid, since you could mix and match parts from just about all of them, basically creating a whole new figure with every new one that you bought. Also, they're just big and chunky, and I love old 80s toys like that. Surprisingly, I actually saw very little of He-Man at this place, and what was here was pretty much your standard figures for the most part. But this booth did have Mantisaur sitting here, and this thing was one of my favorite rideable creatures that you could stick your He-Man bad guys on because he's just a giant evil praying mantis. These days though, he's not that easy to find, so it's priced accordingly. This place was so packed with toys that you could literally park yourself at just about any booth and spend an hour going through all the stuff that they had packed in there. Very few booths were themed with 1 or 2 collections. Instead, most had dozens sitting out on just any one table, and you really never knew what you were going to see. Like finding these old Karate Kid figures still in the box. I loved how the accessories that they had came in these little boxes inside the package, so it always felt like you were getting 2 toys in one with these. It was also fun to see this Sectar in the package, since I feel like I was the only person that even bought one of these as a kid. I mean, they come with giant bugs and little dinosaur buddies. How is that not cool? I also nearly grabbed both Bill and Ted in the package over here. As a kid, I was definitely more a fan of the cartoon than the actual movie, and I think it still holds up really well, especially these figures from it. And since we were here a few weeks before Halloween, the spookiness was definitely amped up. In fact, the sheer amount of old 60s and 70s Universal Monsters merch and toys was just staggering. It was just everywhere. Both me and my brother are pretty big classic Universal Monster fans and collected a lot of the model kits as kids. These are things that we had only seen parts of over the course of the last few years. But of course, every single one of them was here, brand new, still in the package. There's also this booth that had a collection of old Halloween costumes from the 70s and 80s. I mentioned to the owner how I can still feel and smell those masks to this day without even putting them on. Overall, it was just really fun seeing these old monster toys in their original packages. There was even some cool 3D printed models of some of the more modern horror icons, but seeing all these classic monsters was definitely a highlight of the day for me. And while toys is the main attraction at the toy fair, there was still a few booths letting you dig around containers filled with God knows what, like this bucket of 3DO games, including a personal favorite of mine, Immercenary. Yes, it sucks, you don't have to tell me, but it's a fever dream of a video game if you've never played it, or at least watched some clips of it on YouTube.
Everyone's ultimate goal was to be perfect one.
Otherwise, I hope you like perusing glass cases, since that's what you're going to be doing for anything that costs more than 20 bucks. But there was some decent finds in these glass coffins, like Power Stone up here for 60 bucks, and that ain't bad at all. There were some NES games in the box over here that didn't look like reproduction boxes, so it was hard not to walk out of here with Darkwing Duck and Gremlins 2. Speaking of expensive, as soon as you start seeing Neo Geo pockets with in-box games, you know it's time to start selling your kids off, since resellers are always pricing these things way too high. But at least these look to be in very good shape, and honestly, who really needs more than one kid anyway? I thought this table was actually really neat with all these early 80s portable game units. I ended up owning a lot of these as a kid by finding them at various yard sales for like $1. And I always had a lot of fun messing around with them, even if I didn't know what I was doing. Also, I love the shapes and designs of these things. These scream 80s electronics to me. This table over here lured me in with their display of Mario Paint and my old buddy Rob the Robot, along with a few games that they had sitting out. But real quick though, I want you to see if you can spot the exact moment that I had a heart attack. Yeah, right then. This is the first time I have ever seen a Neo Geo console in person. I couldn't believe it. My brother just had this 100-yard stare happening as we both calculated how much this guy wants for this thing, which made the final completely out-of-range price of $2,000 for all of it hurt that much more.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
Still, it was really cool to see. And that was actually probably the biggest takeaway from this toy fair. Complete and utter depression due to not having all the money on Earth. Because I can guarantee you that if that amount of money was available, we would have managed to walk out of here penniless somehow. While there was an absolutely massive amount of stuff to see, it was knowing that a lot of this stuff was probably the last time we'd ever see it in person, and just not having enough money to buy it that hurt the most. But that doesn't mean we didn't buy anything. In fact, we walked out of here with a full-on collection of classic Universal Monsters VHS tapes and this old monster nightlight thing that my brother had when he was a kid. But that's going to do it for this weekend. This was definitely one of my favorite toy conventions to go to, and honestly, we didn't even scratch the surface with this place. It was just that big. The sheer size and chaos of this thing was really something. If you ever thought going to a standard convention was a mess, try doing it in multiple pig barns. Still though, I'm glad we went, and we'll definitely be heading back next year to cry more over expensive old toys. So thanks for watching this time, folks. We'll be back next time with another Game and Toy Hunt.